My name is Brett Fleischman, and I'm the Senior Climate Strategist here at Boulder County. I wanted to give like a quick bit of background on how we got here. Um, Back in 2024, Boulder County conducted a review of national climate justice best practices, especially guided by Justice 40 principles. And with the support of environmental justice consultants and led by Commissioner Loachman, we began to shape a vision of this climate equity fund, an idea to resource frontline communities most impacted by climate change. This project aims to support neighborhoods historically excluded from climate solutions and advancing the Office of Sustainability's racial equity goals through direct investments. We are so thrilled to be partnered with JSI, whose experience and expertise in participatory grant making strengthens the foundation of and administration of this effort. And we can't wait to see the ideas and leadership and local climate action that this fund will hopefully resource within our communities. So thank you, JSI, and pass back to you.
Great, thank you, Brett. Here is our agenda for today's webinar. We are going to provide some more background on the Climate Equity Fund. We are going to give an overview of the grant. We're going to go through the application process and provide a walkthrough of that. And as I said, there'll be plenty of time for question and answer at the end of the presentation. So providing some overview of the program, in 2024, the Boulder County conducted a comprehensive review of climate justice best practices. Informed by recommendations from external environmental justice consultants, Boulder County staff and the Board of County Commissioners developed a vision for the Climate Equity Fund. The intent of the fund is to expand access to climate-related funding for frontline communities and individuals disproportionately impacted by climate change. In July of this year, Boulder County Commissioners directed Boulder County to launch the new Climate Equity Fund. This fund will distribute up to $2.5 million in 2025. We can go to the next slide. And this initiative was received and supported by the elected Board of County Commissioners. Here we have a quote from Commissioner Martha Loachman. She wants you to know that the Climate Equity Fund is about supporting community-driven climate solutions. And as Brett said, the BCEF will also advance Boulder County's racial equity goals and support those most impacted by climate crisis. Okay, and we want to let you know what makes this fund so unique and special. It's different from other government-funded initiatives, many different ways, but the application process is designed to be accessible and supportive with resources available to applicants. And we will be holding office hours, including grant writing tips, and we will mention more about these opportunities at the end of the presentation. The Climate Equity Fund is also special because it uses a participatory grant-making approach. And this means that communities most impacted by climate change can help determine how resources are being used and distributed. Community voices are present in all aspects of the fund, including the fund design. So Boulder County established the Collaborative Creation Committee, also known as the CCC, and they helped to define key aspects of the BCEF, comprised of 6 diverse community leaders with expertise in climate justice and grants. The CCC shaped the fund's eligibility requirements, application process, funding amounts, and evaluation criteria. The Community Evaluation Committee, also known as the CEC, will be made up of community members who will independently review grant applications and make funding recommendations. We are currently recruiting community members to serve on the CEC, so please check the project website for more information and apply by this Friday if you are interested. We will also be sharing the interest form in the chat if you want to review that. The Climate Equity Fund is designed and administered by JSI. JSI is a global nonprofit dedicated to improving the lives of individuals and communities. This project is based out of our Denver, Colorado office, and JSI was selected to co-create, administer, and manage the BCEF and the grant process. JSI is responsible for making sure the program and applicants follow all relevant county policies and procedures. So the next couple of slides, one will be in English and then the next will be in Spanish. So, and as I mentioned, these slides will be shared after the presentation. So don't feel like you have to take all of this in right away. But I'm going to start going over who is eligible to lead. So organizations and applicants who are locally based, frontline and community-led, including nonprofit organizations, tribes and tribal entities, mutual aid networks, neighborhood associations, including mobile home parks, low-income housing, and Boulder housing partners are eligible to apply. Resident-led initiatives are also welcome to apply. And informal groups or coalitions without official nonprofit status or fiscal sponsorship are also eligible to apply to Tier 1 only. And we are going to switch to the Spanish slide, and I will continue saying who's ineligible and who is ineligible to apply and to lead. So those who are ineligible to lead include universities, municipalities, including county, state, and federal governments, and for-profit businesses. So even though those entities are ineligible to lead, they are welcome to partner with one of the eligible entities. Individuals applying as sole entities without collaborators are not eligible to apply for this fund. For example, if you want to install solar panels on your home, this fund is not going to be a good fit for you. Next, we are going to be going over the two funding tiers that we have available. So Tier 1, also known as our Community Roots grants, is really geared towards informal groups or coalitions without official nonprofit status or fiscal sponsorship. And the grants for this tier range from $5,000 to $50,000, and the project period is from 6 months to a year. And this is really for early stage or smaller scale projects that are looking to test ideas, and we are looking to award up to 10 Tier 1 grants for this pilot cycle. And now we will switch to our Spanish slide, and I will continue for the Tier 2. So Tier 2 is known as our Community Reach grants, and applicants must have nonprofit status or a fiscal sponsorship to apply for a Tier 2 grant. The awards will be $55,000 to $1 million, and these will be up to 1 year. And Tier 2s are more for established projects or startup initiatives that have already been developed. These projects may have greater investments and can demonstrate readiness to manage and scale impact and partnership. We will award up to 5 Tier 2 awards during this pilot cycle. This slide highlights some of the key values we are looking for in an application. So we do want you to ensure that the projects you propose are led by and primarily benefit frontline communities. Frontline communities are those that experience the most immediate and worst impacts of climate change, and are most often communities of color, indigenous, and low income. Projects must also center equity, justice, cultural or community strengths, as well as community support and partnerships. Eligible projects must also embody a commitment to climate action, especially related to reducing greenhouse gas emissions that create climate change. And they must also ensure that the majority of the community benefit and the impact is in Boulder County. So those are some of the requirements. Now we're going to go over some of the project examples. And this list is not exhaustive, It's only intended to provide a couple of examples of projects that are eligible. And it's not also intended to provide guidance on projects that are likely to be funded. But starting off with some of the categories, including healing and cultural connection, arts, storytelling and media, and education and youth engagement. A couple of project examples that would fit into these categories include cultural resilience practices such as seed keeping, intergenerational projects that document environmental changes, and organizing peer-led education or advocacy on school campuses. And as John shared in the chat, we have a ton of more examples in the resources, but going over a couple of areas just so you can start kind of thinking about possible project ideas. We have mutual aid, basic needs, and climate resilience, as well as land, air, water, and food systems. And some project examples that would fit into these categories include toolkits to help communities plan for heat waves, as well as air quality education or monitoring. And the last batch of examples, and we really want you to think broadly about what is environmental justice and what climate change is. So some more examples include infrastructure, zero waste or low carbon living, workforce and economic justice. And some project examples include safe transportation efforts, including walk audits, low waste living workshops, including training on composting, and training programs in solar installation or ecological restoration. And now that we've gone over who is eligible and what some eligible projects look like, we are going to go over the application process, and I will pass it over to Bianca.
Thank you, Savannah. Hi, everyone. I'm Bianca. I'm a program coordinator with JSI, helping support the Boulder County Climate Equity Fund. And I will be walking through the application process and the scoring and selection processes as well. So this is a brief overview of the steps from applying to the fund to all the way to becoming a grantee. So Savannah just walked through all of the eligibility requirements and examples of the project. So once you have a project idea and know you're eligible, you're ready to apply on our online portal. Once you submit an application, we will be screening all of the applications to confirm eligibility and make sure that all of the required documentation is included. Once we go through that screening process, your application will be sent to the Community Evaluation Committee, who will be the community members who score and evaluate your application. Then using those evaluations, JSI and Boulder County will put together a recommended funding slate to then be sent and approved by the Boulder County commissioners. So now I will do a quick walkthrough of how to find the application on the website, as well as what the application looks like. So I'm going to bring us to the Climate Equity Fund website, which I know we're dropping a lot of links in the chat, but a lot of the information can also be found on this website. So in this blue box, you'll see the apply online option. So you can click that, and this will bring you to more application and eligibility information, as well as where you can locate the links to our application. The grant application was co-designed alongside our community or collaborative creation committee this summer, which were 6 community members who convened to create the application and make it as accessible and straightforward as we could. And as Savannah mentioned, there are 2 applications available: the tier 1, which is the $5,000 to $50,000 for smaller scale projects, and then the tier 2 application from $55,000 to $1 million for larger projects led by established nonprofits or organizations who have fiscal sponsors. So you can click on either the tier 1 or the tier 2 application links, and this is what the landing page looks like. This front page just ensures that you can answer these pre-screening questions that are optional, just to make sure that this funding opportunity is a right fit for you and your organization. And for Spanish translation, you can turn Spanish translation on the top right corner, and the whole application will be provided in English or in Spanish. The rest of the application, you press the next button and then you can work on the application, and then you will be sent an email if you want to come back and finish the application at another time. Great, so transitioning into how the application is scored, the Community Evaluation Committee evaluators will be using a scoring rubric. This slide provides an overview of the 1 to 5 scale that is used to score each section of the application. If a section scores a 1, it is probably not responsive to the question that is being asked. A response may score a 2 if it does not align with the key goals of the fund, or if the applicant does not clearly describe how they'll complete the project. Applicants that score predominantly 1s or 2s are unlikely to be funded. A response may score a 3 if it's aligned with the goals of the fund, but the evaluators identify significant flaws in the design or approach. Projects that average scores of 3 may be funded, but may require additional technical support. Applications that average scores of 4s and 5s are more likely to be funded. They address an environmental justice issue in a frontline community, demonstrate meaningful community engagement, and there's the capacity to execute the project. Additionally, the evaluation committee will also be using a weighted scoring rubric to review and score the applications. This means that not all sections of the application are valued equally, and that certain components are considered more important than others and will carry more weight in the overall evaluation. For example, you can see here that the goals and anticipated outcomes in the project description and community centering sections are weighted more than the evaluation or budget sections. Additionally, the first page of the application, including the applicant information, is required but not evaluated. It is just used for our eligibility screening. And then a budget is required for both tiers 1 and 2 to show the general operating costs, program-specific costs, as well as a short description of how the funds will be used. As Savannah mentioned, we will be hosting office hours to help answer any questions related to the rubric or the budget, and we'll provide those dates and registration links for you. So just to recap the timeline of our pilot cycle, this summer in June and July, we convened with the Collaborative Creation Committee to design this fund, and that was approved in July by the Board of County Commissioners. We are now in the open application period until September 15th at 5 p.m. And then once that closes, the Community Evaluation Committee will start the evaluation process, and we will review the applications and recommend to the board, who will approve the awards. After the board approves the awards, we will move into contracting in November, and then projects will start shortly after. And finally, here are some key dates. As Savannah said, we will also be sharing out this slide deck, as well as these dates are also on the website. But our application is now open until September 15th at 5 p.m. And if you're interested in becoming an evaluator on our Community Evaluation Committee, our interest form is still open until this Friday. And then we will be hosting and attending a sort of supporting events, including these listed here. And if you know of any other events that we should be at or community members we should connect with, just please let us know. And I will be passing it back to Savannah for our questions and answers.
Great, thank you, Bianca. Okay, so we have plenty of time to answer your questions. You can continue asking your questions in the chat, or you can use the raise hand feature in Zoom if you would like to have more of a discussion. For questions related to your organization's eligibility, including any fiscal questions that are not included in the FAQ, please email climateequityfund@bouldercounty.gov, and we will be including that in the chat. So let's start with some questions. And then I will read off some of the questions that were already asked. are established nonprofits eligible to apply for a Tier 1 grant, and nonprofits are eligible to apply for both Tier 1 or Tier 2. That Tier 1 is more so just for smaller projects and informal groups, but yes, nonprofits are eligible to apply. And then let's see if you have any other questions. And again, feel free to raise your hand if you would like to ask a question that way. One of the questions that we have is, when is the funding expected to be spent by, and would there be further opportunities to apply after this round of money is exhausted? And the grant funding is expected to be spent in 1 year. And if you remember saying that the smaller grants could be 6 months to a year. So depending on the project cycle, and organizations will have a contract starting early next year. And again, this is the pilot cycle. And let's see if we have a couple more questions. Is there a limit to how many applications a project can turn in? Limit to fiscal sponsors? I'm going to have my team jump in, because if I remember correctly, there is a limit to how many applications you can submit for this round.
Hi, everybody. This is Leslie Fajardo. I'm one of the senior associate consultants for JSI, and I'm working this project as well. As Savannah was mentioning, you can apply as many as you think that your project fit the criteria, and also the funding will support the initiatives that you have. We'll be awarding only one project for now, because this is a pilot. However, as Savannah was mentioning, this is a process, and we're learning a lot about this first level of the work, and we will for sure learn so much about what communities are needing and how communities are responding as well. And if you have further questions about that, we also are going to be hosting office hours in the next couple of weeks, as well as some in-person and virtual outreach engagements where we're going to be able to answer more questions and provide specific answers for the kind of projects that you have. Thanks, Savannah.
Great, thank you, Leslie.
Could I ask a question? Sorry,
Mhm.
my hand is not being raised right now. Or whatever, I don't have the icon there. So regarding the question that I was asking, when you were saying that this is a pilot project on the funding expectation to be spent out now, do you guys have allocated already additional funding for future years to make it sustainable? The question is because if you put to operate a nonprofit or an organization to a scale of 500, right, thousand per se that we get granted or not, and then the next year you don't have security on that or no resources like that could be potential, for application and stuff. So I was wondering if like there's a backup plan, or is there security on acquiring this funding for extensive years for the period of time?
Thank you for your question. I'm going to pass that to either Brett or Emily.
Sure. So the way that it works here, Boulder County, is we operate on a yearly budget based on tax revenue, and we have a commitment from our commissioners that they will assess yearly their contributions to the general fund's contribution to the Climate Equity Fund. We feel very confident that we have the funds at least for next year. And I think that's the best we can say now, is that every year we will look to the budget and try to continue the Climate Equity Fund for as long as we can.
Okay, thank you so much. And just an additional question to that, is this only project program based, or could it be capacity building?
It can be capacity building as well. Yeah. And then
Thanks.
as you saw through the presentation, all of the applications go to the CEC, the Community Evaluation Committee, and they look at the whole suite of applications to decide what to fund.
Thank you.
Thank you.
It looks like there are a couple of questions related to the number of grants that will be awarded. And you can see John's response that for tier 1, we are looking to award up to 10 awards, and for tier 2, up to 5 awards. Anybody else that has any questions that they want to come off of mute? Maybe your raise hand feature also isn't working, but continue to ask questions in the chat if that's easier as well. Okay, go ahead.
I put a question in the chat. Do you expect to award the full $2.5 million in this round of funding? And if so, will awardees receive the requested amount in a lump sum or over the course of 2026? Thanks.
Great, thank you for your question, Paul. So our goal is to award the full $2.5 million this funding cycle, and an applicant's scope of work will guide the contracting mechanism. So if it'll be deliverable based or cost reimbursable. I hope that answered your question.
Yep, thank you.
Thanks. Okay, let me see if there's any other questions. Let's see, I think we answered majority. Here's a question we haven't answered yet. Are planning efforts eligible? Like, would a community resilience plan for an HOA be eligible, or is it more the execution of an existing resilience plan? Community resilience plans would be an eligible project. Let's see, and then I think we have some more like technical responses as far as the HOA part. Amy is our finance lead on the team. Do you have any additional responses for this question?
Hi, everyone. No, Savannah, you answered it perfectly, but if any other questions come in through the email, I'd be happy to answer them directly.
Thank you, Amy. And to reiterate, planning efforts, especially related to community resilience planning, it would be an eligible project. Any other questions?
I have a question.
Okay.
So what I've been seeing, and so I helped build the recommendations for the Justice 40 for the commitment. So this was about last year. And so something that we're seeing, or that we've been really concerned about, and we're a small nonprofit that has been doing climate justice work for 9 years, is that we've been approached by large national organizations that we've never heard of, that have likely never done equity work, but because they've lost funding, or, you know, a lot of us got hit with these really big not getting funded with our grants, and DEI and kind of climate justice work being defunded in general. And so we're really concerned about national organizations just kind of, you know, doing this greenwashing like they did with the Justice 40 efforts. These funds are meant to build the capacity of frontline organizations and, you know, organizations that have already been doing the work here, especially related to equity and justice. So how will you, or in the rubric, kind because I anticipate that you're going to get a lot of applications from what we've been seeing from organizations that haven't been doing the work and that don't serve our communities. How will you weed those out and make sure that this is really to build the capacity of frontline community orgs?
That's a really good question, Gabby, and thank you for your work that you've done on Justice 40. The scoring rubric and all of the application questions are on the website, and we definitely do want to ask some questions that include how the projects are centering frontline communities, how communities are involved. So we hope to really kind of decipher that through the application process. And then with the CEC, our evaluation committee, we hope to have community members who are able to know who are also the key players in the community, who is maybe an emerging organization or a coalition of folks who are doing this work. And so we are trying to be as equitable and inclusive as possible. And so through the process of the application, but also through the evaluation process, we really hope to give the frontline communities and those organizations the best chance as possible for this funding opportunity. Was that helpful?
Yeah, I think I just kind of want to tell whoever's here and kind of reiterate that, like, too often it's like it's equality. It keeps like kind of being switched to equality rather than equity. And you know, we hope that our intention with these recommendations was to build the capacity primarily of the orgs that are already doing, because we've had these barriers to funding. So I just kind of want to share that with you all. Like, yeah, it's been concerning to be reached out by big orgs that have never done this work and wanting to team up with our organization. So I'm also kind of concerned about that predatory aspect of it. You know, not, and also to like kind of taking care of our community so they're not being, it doesn't go to build the capacity of larger organizations that have not been doing this work. So yeah, thank you.
Thank you. And for those partnerships, we are going to definitely evaluate if the lead is one of the kind of the smaller, the frontline community-based organizations, and the partner, if you know they need any specific engineering or business partnership, that they are able to hold that end of the partnership and they're not leading it. So thank you for your question. We're trying to really uphold the values of this fund throughout. So we hope to really make sure the money gets into the hands of communities and individuals who have been doing this work. Thank you. And also that brings up a good note. So we will be holding office hours, as well as an office hour that will include grant writing tips. So hopefully you can use some of those tips for this grant, but also future grant opportunities. Any other questions? Team, is there any questions that you would like to highlight?
Savannah, we have one question in the chat about our office hour dates.
Yeah, let me bring up those. Or we have a slide actually, if we want to go back to that. We will be at the Climate Justice Collaborative Cafecito tomorrow in person. We also have a virtual office hours and grant writing workshop that I just spoke about on August 14th, as well as a virtual office hours on September 3rd. We will include the registration links for those office hours on the Oscar website pretty soon here. We will be holding the August 14th office hours in the evening, if that's helpful for folks to attend. And please let us know if there's any other events that you think we should be at. Again, please reach out to us via email if you have any specific questions. Yeah, so we want to just be accessible to everyone. And again, the application closes on September 15th at 5 p.m.
I have another question.
Mhm.
So also in the process of working on the recommendations for the committee and this fund, we realized that there's not many organizations that are doing the climate justice work here in Boulder County. And so we've been curious about how because there's like this conflict of interest in being the evaluation committee of the grants. So if we're part of an organization that is applying for the grants, but we also are hoping to be on the evaluation committee, is it just as simple as recusing ourselves, or what is the process there? Could we still apply, or we would have to choose applying or being on the committee?
Yes, and Leslie, please correct me if I'm wrong, but you can still be on the committee and apply. You would just, like you said, recuse yourself from, of course, scoring your application. And sorry, did I miss the first part of your question?
No, that was it, because there's just a small number of organizations that are doing it, and so if we would have to choose between one or the other, applying or being on the committee. But it sounds like we can just recuse ourselves from looking at our own application.
Yes, or other applications of folks that you have like a relationship with as well. And we are
financial. Like you would benefit financially.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And we are opening the CEC up to community members as well. So even if you don't work in official capacity in climate change, but you do work in your community, then you are also welcome to apply for the evaluation committee. Let me just double check our other questions that we've received. And go ahead.
Sorry, just wanted, I'm so curious. If regarding, like the nonprofits that may apply into, let's say that you have three main nonprofits or four that are doing like a lot of community work, and they show on the records of the number of participants that are able to impact with the work that they are doing. And if each one of them they request you for a million or 500,000, how would you make it a fair share for everyone in that sense? Would you share, would you give just like to one that may have a lot of capacity and says that is doing a lot of work, more with potentially more government side or whatever than community, um, you know, uh, amongst another, like other organization that is also doing a lot of community work and is really needing like capacity building? How would you like decide how much money are you going to give, or are you going to try to give equal share, 5,000, 500,000, and 500,000 to each?
So although we are looking at capacity to carry out the projects, we understand that some specifically smaller organizations or projects may need more capacity, and we want to provide support for them. So if you look at the scoring rubric, we put a lot of emphasis on the project description and if the project centers community, as well as goals and anticipated outcomes. So we're really looking at those two. We aren't looking to fund completely one side or the other. So I can't give you kind of an estimate on how many, but that is kind of what we're looking at.
Thanks.
And let's see, we have a couple more questions. A question that came in through the chat was, for nonprofits, is staff project management time an eligible expense that can be included in the budget for the project? And yes, you can definitely include that the staff project management time as part of your expenses. Your budget needs to be reflective of the project costs and efforts, and a budget template will be available to use for the application. Okay, let's see. Am I missing any questions, team? And then I see the comment about holding a session after 5:30 p.m. so more folks can join. And as a reminder, this is being recorded, so folks who weren't able to attend this initial session can also watch the recording. I see we have a question about the mobile home property managers applying on behalf of residents, or do residents themselves need to apply through an HOA or a group of some kind? Amy, can you help answer this question? And as we mentioned before, mobile home communities are eligible to apply.
You know what, Savannah, I don't have the answer to that right now, but I will take note of the name and we can respond via email or with the report out.
Great, thank you. Any other questions that folks want to say aloud?
So Savannah, if you can go over again and share more about the CEC and invite the participants to apply, or anybody who they consider that they should be in this group.
Yeah, so we have the interest form for the CEC, and we'll get that to you all. The application does close this Friday, but we are looking for folks to apply to help score and give recommendations to Boulder County on which projects should be funded. And we are going to have up to 10 community members serve on this committee. And yeah, was there anything else you wanted to highlight, Leslie, about that? We'll drop the interest form again.
Thank you. No, I just one more thing that we added is that we'll meet for the CEC members. We'll make sure that we meet we'll meet the time that is the most convenient for you. So that it's not necessarily during the day. I can see in the chat that there is a request for office hours after 5:30. So this is the same thing that we're going to be considering for the following events. So also we will have interpretation services. So if you want more diversity in this committee, please share this with everyone or anyone who speaks Spanish, who is in the community. We would love to have them be able to have a place and a voice to read about this incredible projects that you have in hands, and also see how this is evaluating and impacting in the community. Another thing is that for the CEC, we're going to be requesting this month of August to be kind of focused on some trainings that we will provide, onboarding sessions. So there is a whole package for CEC, and we really want you to be in this committee, or anybody that you consider that can bring their voice from the frontline communities to this space. Again, to evaluate the projects and impact even more our community here in Boulder County.
Thank you, Leslie. And it looks like we have a couple of questions related to CEC specifically, if you wanted to respond to those questions.
So Adriana asked if the CC participants are part of a group or organization eligible to apply, can their organization still apply for the funds? Yes, the answer is yes, they can still apply for the fund. They will be part of the conversations around the discussion that we will have for that project. They will have to remove themselves, but they're going to still be their organizations are still eligible, especially because here in Boulder County, as somebody was mentioning early, there's a community that everybody knows each other. It's very small, so we really want to make sure there are opportunities for everybody, and we are contributing to that. So the next question was, will people on the community be paid an honorarium for their time? Yes, Marta.
Yay.
For their participation as we did for CCC.
Great, thank you, Leslie, for answering those questions. Any other questions? Great. Team, any last thoughts? Thank you all for joining this kickoff meeting. As we said, please email us if you have any specific questions that aren't covered in the FAQ or on the website. And we look forward to seeing you out in community as well as the upcoming events. Have a great day.